How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.
My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts. This is Jonathan Gillum, and this is The Experts on Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. And I'm checking here, folks. I'm not seeing this coming up on Twitter, so I'm very interested in this as to why it's not coming up on Twitter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the broadcast on Twitter and restart it. Shouldn't affect anything else on any other part of the show. It's definitely up on Periscope, so we'll do this. We'll stop it. We'll preview broadcast. Remember, I'm the tech guy. Share it on Twitter, and then go live. That should bring it up. Let's try it. Stand by. Nope. Well, we'll keep trying, and we'll get started with the show. We can't leave our Twitter peeps. Ah, there it is. It's up on Twitter now. Gotcha. Boom. Right when we start. Let's go to the warning order. Okay, we're up on Twitter now. Let me just get back over here. I got so much going on. There you go. Now it's gone there. All right, so I get my brain room going crazy as soon as I get started and nothing comes up there. And I think we're up on YouTube as well. Let me make sure, yeah. Looking good. We got all 12 people on YouTube watching. I don't know what the deal is with YouTube. Maybe one day I'll figure it out. I doubt it. But as you can see, I still have the cough. Lost a little bit of my voice from coughing. But I'm telling you what, I've heard so many horror stories about the flu from different people. There you go. I'm afraid to hit the cough button now because last time I hit it, I didn't punch it to come back on. Then I didn't have any voice for a while. Maybe if I cough like this.
Man, that congestion really messes with my voice.
Okay, so a couple things I want to talk about today. As you can see in the title, the FISA memo just continues to be talked about and debated on television, on mainstream media. I mean, the reality is with this memo, folks, the more I watch it, I think people are getting a lot of the different parts. They're seeing exactly what's going on. I think more importantly than anything, people are seeing what the upper echelons of this government are capable of. We still don't know exactly. We have sound. We have sound. I'm assuming we have sound. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. No? Yes. We have sound? Somebody let me know. Okay, sound good. I don't know why Remo's typing sound with a question mark if I have sound. Okay, good. So, I think that was Remo. So anyway, we still don't know who all these people are beholden to. You know, it's very interesting because, and this will calm down, this cough will calm down here in a minute. The majority of people that we end up listening to, the politicians that are involved in this, the people at the top of these different agencies who are involved in this stuff, it just never fails where we get a glimpse into how these people work, but it doesn't make any sense when you're looking at this from a patriotic standpoint, right? Why would they do the things that they do? Why are they so concerned with Trump running for president when they should be just as, if not more concerned, with Hillary Clinton or the things that Barack Obama did? I mean, yeah, they're involved with it, so we know that they're not going to be as concerned. But it's very interesting because when we look at the behaviors of, start with the DOJ, Rosenstein, I'll even put, just for the sake of this, I'll even put in there Sessions, Attorney General Sessions, Rod Rosenstein, all the directors of the FBI that came from the DOJ, all those people. And here, while I'm coughing, I'll at least look a little smarter, I guess. And all the directors that came from the DOJ into the FBI, when we look at the behavior, and that would include, for this conversation, Mueller and Comey, well, now Christopher Wray as well. When we look at the behavior of McCabe, Strzok, Page, all the other people that were involved in creating this dossier, the source himself, Steele, the other people that were manufacturing evidence, it just makes no sense. There's nothing patriotic about it. There's nothing that they're doing that says to me, from a standpoint of somebody who's sworn to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, somebody who served selflessly, it doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense from a patriotic standpoint what these people were thinking, except for the fact when you start looking at nefarious motivations like overthrowing the government, destroying the Constitution, criminal organized criminal enterprises. It just it doesn't make any sense, and so that's the one thing I'm not seeing people really talk about on television. And motivation goes a long ways. Once you find out that there's certain people that have done certain things, you can then start looking at their motivation. And quite frankly, their motivation, nowhere in here that nobody's talking about, the motivation has nothing to do with what's best for this country. Not any of it. I mean, listen, President Trump was the only one running and repeatedly saying that he wanted to make America great again. And he was not just saying that, but he was talking about the right things: immigration, border security, stronger military, so on and so forth, all these different things. You didn't hear him talking about, in fact, he talked about the opposite of that, about globalism, which other people talked about. He said we needed to be nationalistic. We needed to be patriotic. We needed to be to make this country more appealing to businesses here in this country so they'll stay here in this country. You don't even hear that speech coming from the left. So when people are analyzing this stuff on television, I'm not hearing anybody talk about the motivation of these people. I'm not hearing anybody talk about, I'm not hearing any of them talk about what's best for this country, that we must do this in order to protect the country. I mean, Strzok and those people kind of talked about that a little bit, but they didn't really say for the country as much as just an insurance policy against Trump in whatever their insurance policy was. In fact, the left often talks about other things like breaking down the borders, loosening the immigration policies, opening the borders, in encouraging more regulation and allowing businesses to go overseas. I mean, it's ridiculous when you look at the way they run things, and then when you look at the motivation of the people that are involved in this memo gate, which again, I've said all along, is way bigger than just the FBI or the DOJ. It's way bigger. Which is the other thing I don't like, is two things that I keep seeing repeated in the media. One, I keep seeing them all focused like, this happened here, and it happened here in the FBI, and it happened here in the DOJ. No one in media, except from this show, is talking about the reality that these same tactics were used in other agencies by people at the same level in other agencies under the same administration. Now, I'm smart enough to know, as are you, that that is not a coincidence, that people don't just go out and somebody from this agency just happens to be targeting conservatives apart from the president of the United States at that point in time, who was an avid leftist, and they just did it on their own free will, and then when they got caught, they just lost their emails, right? So that happened in the IRS. And then when Hillary Clinton is running for office, and then let's go back even further, State Department, when she was in the State Department, right? Another agency. Now, not the FBI, not the DOJ, not the IRS. This is the State Department, a fourth agency. State Department, which also works very closely with the CIA. So really, you're looking you're looking at the DOJ, the FBI, the IRS, the State Department, and the CIA. And you might as well go ahead and throw in the DOD there as well, because there are participants in this as well that were unmasking people that were doing things that legally they weren't allowed to do. We might be able to throw DHS and some other places in there, but right now let's stick with those six. I hear nobody on television talking about, or the radio for that matter, except for this show, talking about the fact that these are tactics that are repeated over and over again. Lois Lerner, they were targeting conservatives. They got caught, they lost emails. And then when you look at Hillary Clinton in the State Department, all the nefarious things that she was doing at the upper echelons with people at the upper echelons of the State Department and most likely the CIA and the administration under Obama. And when they got caught, they lost emails, they destroyed government property and lost text messages. And somehow, even when a computer is found by a child a sex predator like Anthony Weiner, classified emails are found on his laptop, which he shared with his wife, who was Uma Abedin. Still, no one is in trouble. Nobody gets in trouble for that. Now, I find that, having been a government worker for over 20 years, very, very hard to palate. But it also gives us a perfect example of how these people work across the board when it comes to protecting themselves using the same type of tactics. They can do things like say, I lost the emails, or the emails were lost, and there's nobody in the upper echelons that's going to allow investigators to go find them. Because remember, just like a terrorist cell, right? You have people who plan the operations, carry out the operations. That's what we see. But you also have people who fund the operations. You have the trainers that teach people how to do certain things. You may have different people that do different types of surveillance. You may have sources within an area that are feeding information. So there's different cells that people work, and they may never know each other. So the same thing can be looked at all these different levels of the government, who these tech people are, and how they keep losing emails, which I'll never know how they do that. But it just shows you that if this person gets caught, that there's another person maybe way down here. So this person gets caught, they're way up here, they're an executive, and this little peon person down here has communication without communication. There's like a cell. So they may not know each other, but they know their job is now, or they may be told, destroy those emails. Make it to where they can't find it. See, the bad thing about text messages is most likely the online service that they use, such as Verizon or AT&T, they still have those. But when it comes to emails, maybe not quite the case. Now, nobody's talking about that across the board. They're not mentioning that other agencies should be looked at, and I keep saying that every night here. The other thing is that I'm sick and tired of people saying that, like Juan Williams over on Fox News, saying that, well, you know, Eric Holder was on today. And Eric Holder said that that Obama never was looking into the FBI to try to find out what their investigations were doing. Okay, first of all, Juan Williams, if you're willing to take the word of somebody as crazy as Eric Holder, who would approve something as, well, we know it was nefarious. It was Fast and Furious. Don't kid yourself. Here's another example. Okay, now we can throw the ATF in there. Fast and Furious was done for reasons I don't even think we know about yet. Whether it was to funnel guns to potential terrorists, whether it was to funnel guns to different narcos and different cartels because they're involved with that type of stuff, I don't know. If it was another stupid CIA operation that has something to do with who knows what, and they allowed that stuff to happen, then one of our Border Patrol officers were killed by one of those guns, and you're going to take the word, Juan Williams, of that fruitcake who was a complete disaster of an attorney general, who's a complete leftist. You can look at his tweets, and he's a communist, this guy. He's a global communist. Now, I know a lot of people on here aren't fans of Juan Williams. I've met him. I've been on when I was on the O'Reilly quite a bit. I was on a couple times with him. Nice enough guy. But you got to be kidding me. Look, we're in a day and age where information that comes out on the television, people believe. And it's just as dangerous as Hitler when he was going around putting out propaganda with Goebbels. The fact that Juan Williams would come on and try to make it sound like Eric Holder is this, oh, every word that comes out of his mouth is true, so Obama must not have been looking. Bull crap. So it's hard for me as an investigator to sit back and I know Michael Jack, who's watching, would agree with me on this, and any other investigators that are watching. It's hard for me to sit back and listen to people on television with good intent say, well, so-and-so said that they did this, and so-and-so said that they did that, and the memo said that they did this. Look, if you think that there are absolutes in any of this stuff, you're crazy. We haven't even scratched the surface. All we know is that they're doing nefarious stuff at the top of the government, which we already knew. Now we have a little bit more evidence. We understand that people like Schiff Congressman Schiff from California will lie straight to a camera over and over and over again, will write memos of pure lies just to get the narrative off of the actual crimes and more onto a left-right Democratic-Republican process. So, I know people are trying to do a lot of good, but when they come to these conclusions that this happened, they should start saying this is potentially what happened. There could be more, most likely more. Because mud is going to be on their face as well. Sorry if I'm chewing this thing up in your ear. So, I want you to think about that. That's all I'm going to say about the memo today. I know I've been talking about that a lot. Now, here's what I want you all to do as well. I want you to share this show. Facebook has completely locked me down to where, I was getting, until Facebook realized what I was doing every night, I was getting up to a million, or I was hitting 1 million people in the news feeds. That's how big my reach was. They've completely shot that now where I'm like 30,000 people reached. You can do that in your sleep. You can come up on a Facebook Live and throw a baseball back and forth with somebody for about 5 minutes and you'll reach 30,000 people easy. So Facebook is screwing with us. There's no doubt about that. They're a bunch of leftists that run this organization. Same thing with Twitter. Same thing with YouTube. We're up against the gun here. And the only way we can compete with them is if you continue to share this show again and again. And as I've been saying over the past couple weeks, tell 5 people about this show. Tell 5 people about the book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival. Tell 5 people or more every day and try to get people on board with this. Tell them about the CQRF. Tell them about #NotMe. Tell them everything. Get them on board with this so that it's the only way we're going to be able to stand against these leftist, some of these people on the spectrum that run and own these different social media platforms. Yeah, I said it. I think you could clearly look at some of these people, and sometimes I don't even know if they're in charge or who else is in charge of Facebook. Who knows? But I do know what we saw through Project Veritas, that when it comes to Twitter, that there are nefarious people that are watching everything that we do. Now, you should remember that in your direct messages as well. They're watching. You're never not being watched. Okay, so remember that. So continue to share the show. There's 78 people watching this on Facebook right now. There should be, right now, a minimum of at least 70 people of having shared. And on Twitter, I don't even know how many people we got on Twitter, but everybody should be retweeting on Twitter. Let me see what we got here. Let me look at Twitter real quick. One second. I don't know. This thing's moving too slow. For some reason, it's not counting the numbers. But we're aware of you, Twitter. We're aware of you, Facebook. We're aware that you guys are constantly messing with these feeds. We know that just like Lois Lerner and the IRS. And look, here's another thing that we haven't even began to encroach upon, which is, okay, so 35 people on Twitter. Woohoo. I love all 35 of you. We haven't even begun to talk about these tech companies and how they're playing a part in all this stuff. Because remember, folks, even if they didn't get a wire on certain people, a legal wire, if they have connections in these tech companies, they can still go and they can listen to what their people are saying. If don't think that the phone companies don't have a way to do that. It's not like your phone is that secure. Hold on. Why does everybody text me right after I start my show? Like I wasn't getting any texts. I'm always late starting this show. I get no texts from anybody. 5 minutes after I start the show, I have like 10 texts. Why is that? All right. Come on, people. Work with me here. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit real quick and get away from all this stuff about the memo. And let's talk about a Tennessee sheriff. Actually, let's go to the A block and we'll do that. So a Tennessee sheriff, there's a reason why I brought this up, okay? Because I want people to realize, again, I love giving these good examples about how the news changes things and makes things, a story, into something that it's not. So here is a Tennessee sheriff. The headline is, Tennessee sheriff boasts about fatal shooting he ordered. I love this shit. Okay, that's what they're saying on here, and they got it blanked out, of course. Now, I'm going to play, there's an audio part of this. Now, I want you to listen to this broadcast, okay, and if I hope Viral Hog or somebody doesn't, if I just all of a sudden drop off of Facebook, you'll know why. This comes off of foxnews.com, and it is a, let's see here, I think I can play it like this. This is a news broadcast talking about, and they'll set it up, but I want you to pay close attention to some things. Now, I'm going to tell you this preemptively before I start the video, and I used to do this on CNN all the time, and then I'd get death threats. So you have to remember, regardless of what this sheriff says, okay, a vehicle is a lethal weapon. All right, a vehicle that weighs several thousand pounds, pulling a trailer down the freeway, even though the speed's, like they're saying, yeah, the speed's never really got above 50 miles an hour. Go stand by the freeway where the speed limit's 55, and oh, no, I'm just saying don't go do that. But if you did go stand by the freeway where the speed limit's 55, that's pretty freaking fast. And a car going 55 miles an hour that weighs several thousand pounds is going to kill a human being if it crashes, if it goes across the intersection and hits a car straight on, or even if it hits somebody and sideswipes them. You know, that's thousands of pounds cruising at 50 miles an hour. So they try to make it sound like it's no big deal. A car, a truck, any motorized vehicle can be considered a lethal weapon. No different than a gun. No different than a knife. That's the number one thing. Secondly, when a sheriff orders his deputies to kill somebody because they are not following the orders to stop, and they're in a vehicle and they're in a public setting, they are under a imminent threat of loss of life or serious bodily injury, and they have the right. All these police chases that you see where they do a pit maneuver, and they spin people out, they're full in their, and as far as I've ever seen legally, they are in their full rights to actually shoot these people if they wanted to do that when they're in these high-speed chases or low-speed chases with cars. Don't kid yourself about the high-speed, low-speed, because it's just as dangerous. So remember what I just told you there. So it doesn't matter what he's saying. And I think even that was taken out of context, because he's saying, look, screw these people. If they want to, basically what it sounded like to me is they want to play these games, they're going to suffer the consequences. And apparently he was like, if they're going to play, he didn't say this, but you can kind of read. If they can read into what they're going to read into, I can read in what I think he's meaning. This guy's going to come out here. He is going to, throw this car around, put people's lives and the deputies' lives at danger, and tear up all these cars, which also the federal law says serious loss of life or bodily injury doesn't have to be a dead person. It can be a serious bodily injury. Then you can stop them using deadly force. And one last thing, whenever you hear the media say the person was not armed, they are not taking into consideration, or they are honestly trying to skew the way you think to make the cops look bad when they say the person was not armed. If they are in a moving vehicle and they are using that moving vehicle to hit cars, or they're not stopping when the police tell them to, they have a weapon. So let's listen to this. Now let's get past the advertisement first.
Bringing you the latest.
Stand by.
Of deadly force to protect his patrol cars?
Video obtained exclusively by News Channel 5 Investigates is raising new questions about a deadly shooting last year.
Investigative reporter Ben Hall has the body cam tapes that caught the sheriff's shocking admissions.
Investigative reporter, remember that's kind of like a catch-22, or it's a double. What do they call that? Anyway, it's a double negative. Investigative reporter, give me a freaking break. Anytime you add the term journalist in there, you're looking at bias, okay? Plain and simple. There is no journalist that exists anymore, with maybe the exception of Catherine Herridge and a couple other people that are not biased in their reporting.
White County Sheriff Odie Shoup did not realize he was being recorded right after officers shot and killed a man. A deputy was holding a body camera. Neither knew was on. They put the camera in the back of a patrol car, and what it caught the sheriff saying raises new questions about what happened following a two-county police chase, and is at the center of a federal lawsuit. The slow-speed chase started hours earlier in neighboring DeKalb County. Last April, Smithville police attempted to pull over Michael Dial.
Slow-speed chase. That's the first thing they're going to say here. Remember, they're built. I want you to hear this because I want you to understand how the media paints pictures for you that are not true. And quite frankly, a lot of times the juries their minds are painted exactly the way this by attorneys, the same way that this investigative reporter is tainting your viewpoint.
Driving on a suspended license. He was driving a 1976 pickup, towing a fully loaded trailer.
Okay. Well, I didn't stop. He was scared.
Okay, so
to pull over Michael.
So let me let you hear what he has done, and then I'm going to say something about this. So they're saying that the deputies are attempting to pull over
Dial for driving on a suspended license. He was driving a 1976 pickup, towing a fully loaded trailer.
Okay, so this reporter is trying to make. Remember, this guy is obviously a liberal. There's no doubt about it. He's saying that this guy had a suspended license. He got pulled over by the cops. He wouldn't stop. He's driving a 1976 pickup as though that makes it less of a danger. It still weighs several thousand pounds, and he's towing a fully loaded, very rickety trailer that probably also weighs several thousand pounds. And he's trying to make it sound like, it was it was an old truck. It was a low-speed chase. It had a fully loaded trailer. If I tell you that, you're going to think, well, it probably wasn't much of a threat. And then listen to what his girlfriend says, or wife.
Didn't stop. He was scared. I know him enough to know that.
Robin died.
Okay. He's scared. There's another one of these excuses like a criminal will always give you. Oh, look, because the first time, if that wasn't mine, somebody else was wearing my jeans. That's why those drugs were in there. Or I've never driven on a suspended license before. I was going to go get it fixed next week, Everybody's scared when they get pulled over by the cops, especially people who have done something wrong. But it doesn't mean that you take off and flee. And that when you do, the consequences are you may end up dead.
Can't believe how things escalated, and that her husband is gone.
When I wake up every day and he's not there, it's like going through it all over again.
Okay, first of all, if you're not, if you're not going to stop for the cops and you got a suspended driver's license and you're scared, and do you really think you're going to outrun them in a truck with a fully loaded rickety trailer? I mean, throwing caution to the wind, I guess. The only thing I can think of with this is that, for one, maybe there was more up than just a suspended driver's license. Two, we don't know if he's a repeat felon or not. And three, I'm not too sure this guy was really as scared as he was. He just said, screw it, I'm not going to go to jail, which is often the case.
It's never reached high speeds. DeKalb County deputies later told the TBI it was more like a funeral procession.
How fast do you think you got up to?
We might have got up to 50.
Okay.
Somewhere between 30 40 miles an hour.
Remember, 30 to 50 miles an hour, still a deadly weapon. A vehicle is still deadly at that point. He goes across this intersection and hits a vehicle head on, those people could die. He ends up running one of these patrol cars into this rail, and this trailer falls over, they could die.
Deputies backed off at the county line, and White County took over. Their deputies tried to stop Dial using their patrol car. Reserve Deputy Adam West got involved driving his personal pickup.
Nice truck.
We're on edge, too.
Sheriff Odie Shoup was not involved in the chase, but he gave orders to the radio dispatcher authorizing deputies to shoot Dial.
59, take him out by any means necessary, including deadly force.
After that order, you see Deputy West take out his gun. They're on Highway 111 with few cars in sight.
Okay, so there you go again. See how this investigative reporter, I got to find out what this guy's name is by the end of this, because he's a bullshit artist, I'm going to say it. He's trying to always constantly paint a picture through this video that the car was it was old, that this was a full trailer, that they didn't go over 50 miles an hour, that they're on a stretch of the highway where there's just not a lot of cars. You see, consistently trying to make this picture into something that it's not. That is the media, and quite often that's what these investigative reporters do.
Later, deputies push Dial's truck off the road. West gets out of his truck and immediately opens fire. Officer Charlie Sims also started shooting. Dial was struck in the head. He was unarmed.
I feel with every part of me.
There you go. Okay, let me play that part again.
That's exactly what I feel.
Dial was struck in the head. He was unarmed.
See, unarmed. There's the other thing. So this reporter uses terms like the truck was old, it was 76, full trailer, never got above 50, not a lot of traffic on the road, and he was unarmed. Now, all that stuff means nothing. It should mean nothing in a court of law. As an officer, you're telling somebody who's on a suspended driver's license to pull over. If it's just a suspended driver's license, you're going to get a ticket. That's it. Suspended driver's license, he takes off running. He's in a vehicle that's not going to go real fast, so obviously you're thinking the guy's probably not in his right mind anyway. He is in a truck that weighs over 3,000 pounds. The trailer looked like it weighed several thousand pounds as well, loaded full of gear. He is driving down the freeway where there are other cars. I didn't know that this investigative reporter is an expert on traffic and where it's more dangerous, where it's more not. Even if there was one car on the road, that means it's dangerous. And he was armed. He was armed with a vehicle that weighs thousands of pounds. And he's not pulling over. Even when the cops run into him, he still is bashing back into the police officers. I don't know. Look, I'm glad this sheriff gave the command to take him out by using lethal force. I think he's fully justified, which he was found fully justified in this case. I think that he made the right decisions. Even if he made a remark about his cars, he made the right decision. And I'm not going to lie to you. Quite frankly, if I was a sheriff, I'd get off on this stuff too, and I'll tell you why. Because eliminating deadly threats that could harm my community, yeah, that's a rush. When you go in there and you got bad guys that are trying to that won't listen to authorities, that potentially can kill people, and you eliminate that threat, listen, that's what we do. That's why you swear an oath to the Constitution, to protect them from people like this, not from the sheriff.
I feel with every part of me that that's exactly what they wanted to do, was kill him.
But Dial's lawsuit focuses on what the sheriff said after the shooting to another deputy. On that body camera they didn't know was on.
I told him, I said, take him out.
I heard.
Damn, I don't give a
It wasn't long after that. I heard shots fired, shots fired.
They said, we're ramming. I said, don't ram him, shoot him.
Dial is suing White County, the sheriff, Deputy West, and Sparta Officer Sims, claiming they used excessive force. The lawsuit claims Shoup preferred to shoot and kill Mr. Dial rather than risk damaging his patrol cars.
That I ain't gonna tear my cars up. They don't think I'll give a damn water to kill that motherfucker. They full of Take him out. I'm here on the damn end, wrong in the damn county.
Shoup seemed upset he wasn't there when the shooting happened.
I love this God, I tell you what, I thrive on
I don't know how you can thrive on taking a human life. That's not law enforcement.
Attorney Dave.
In this case, it was, because the guy was posing. See, this is a defense attorney, right? So the individual was posing a serious, an imminent threat of loss of life or serious bodily damage to the surrounding public and the officers, because he would not pull over. And he, at that point, when he is given a command, because he has, and the officers are in their legal right to command him to stop that vehicle, and he doesn't, he has already committed an assault. And now what is happening is he is amped up. Everything is because of him, not because of the cops, not because of the sheriff. Everything is amped up because of that guy that decided not to obey the command, and he decided to flee with a vehicle that weighs thousands of pounds in an area that's populated against the cops. This is a defense attorney.
Weissman said there was no reason to shoot Mr. Dial, and Shoup's comments prove he was more concerned with his cars than Dial's life.
If that's the mentality from the highest policymaker in the town, in the county, that's scary.
The TBI and district attorney ruled the shooting justified.
As they
but
should.
Immediately afterward, Deputy West was clearly upset. Sheriff Shoup told him he did exactly as he was ordered.
You don't have to worry about this. I made the decision. You don't have to worry about it. I took that away from y'all. You don't have to worry about nothing. Everything's cool. You done just exactly right.
He wouldn't hurt anybody.
Robin Dial will never believe her husband needed to die.
Of course she won't, but that's irrelevant to the case. Did she know that her husband would do this going down the road with a fully loaded vehicle?
Leading 10 more miles down the road, he probably would have run out of gas.
Okay.
I just hope he knows I loved him.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
The DA standing by his ruling the shooting was
Ben Hall.
justified, but admits he had not heard the sheriff's comments when he made that ruling. The sheriff has declined to comment.
That's Ben Hall on Facebook, Ben Hall NC5. I guess is how you can reach him on Facebook. Should be Ben Hall Idiot, because this was the one of the worst investigative, it's kind of stupid to call it oxymoron. That's what it's called. Investigative reporting. This is not investigative reporting. This is indoctrination reporting, where they're trying to convince you to see things a specific way. That's it. Ben Hall. What a chump. All right. I think we've said enough about that. Don't forget to share and hit retweet. I'm going to say one other thing real quick before we go. Ben Hall. Give me a break. Let's go to the B block. So I'm going to be on Breitbart at 10 o'clock tonight. Breitbart News on the Sirius XM Patriot Channel 125. I should have this cough under wraps by that point. Now, I wanted to bring this up. Somebody sent me off of Business Insider today that, again, those of you that know me, I don't have I don't care what people's sexuality is. There's no homophobic bone in my body. I don't care what your sexuality is. I don't care what your gender is, or I really don't care what your skin color is. Just show up to the game and to be the best that you can be. Show up in life to have the best morals and ethics that you can be. Be your best, do your best, and I'll stand with you. You know, if you're a turd, it doesn't matter what color your skin is, your sexuality or anything. If you're an activist, you're going to make a big deal about any of it. It doesn't matter. A gay figure skating star refuses to meet with Mike Pence during the Winter Olympics. And Pence fires back saying he's misinformed. Now, I'm not even going to go into this story. This guy, Olympic figure skater Adam Rippon, the first openly gay athlete to win a spot on the U.S. Olympic team. Which, who cares? As though that has to be reported. As though... I mean, it's just that's inconsequential as to whether or not you're going to be a great figure skater. Is that something that they look for? Well, let's see here. We got this guy. He's a figure skater here. Let's okay. He's I'm going to give him a 9, but because he's gay, I'm going to give him a 10. Now, who gives a crap? I'm so sick of this nonsense about people like making themselves feel as though they've done something super awesome for their cause because they come out and say that they're gay. It's just like these people in Hollywood that they weren't the ones coming out against Harvey Weinstein until everybody else did. And then all of a sudden now it's all hashtag Me Too. And they all want to talk about how they were assaulted or they were sexually oppressed or, you know, whatever. Look, if you're a victim, we stand with you. If you're gay, I don't care. I don't want to hear it. You're either a good skater or you're not. Go to the Olympics, win a medal, shut your mouth. You're not oppressed, okay? You live in a country where you can have sex with whoever you want. You just got to develop your people skills so you can go get a date with them. Has nothing to do with whether or not you're a great skater. Do you think it's a big deal? Honestly, is it a big deal that this guy is the first openly gay athlete to win a spot in the U.S. Winter Olympics team? First off, is he the first gay person? No, absolutely not. I grew up watching figure skating, okay? I have 3 sisters and no brothers. I was forced to watch that all my life. Used to be when the Wide World of Sports would come on. I always look forward to that, see what it was, and it would be and the agony of defeat. And it would have that guy going off the what is that thing called? The jump that the skiers do, and he crashes and falls off. I don't know if you remember that. ABC Wide World of Sports. And today, and I'm sitting in Arkansas, living in a shack. In fact, it was this house that we lived in. That's where I grew up for part of my life. So we're in that house. It's hot as can be. It's oppressively hot. All we had was a fan. I used to lay on the tile floor with a sheet over the fan just so I could have that cold air in there. But you didn't have anything. There was nothing to do, right? We had 3 stations on the television, and it would say, and today on the Wide World of Sports, figure skating. And I'd be like, no. Oh, that would be like, I remember that tremendously in my brain. But as a kid, I wasn't going, well, listen, I'm going to stay here and watch this because they're gay. It doesn't matter. If you think you're the first person that's been gay that's skated in the Olympics, you're crazy, okay? So you're no hero because you're the first openly gay athlete. What would be really cool is if you were the first openly gay athlete in the Winter Olympics who loves Trump. Now that would be something, okay? That would be news. But you're not. This guy, Adam Rippon, falls directly down the narrative path of everybody else that has to grow up and be an activist. And he thinks that he is taking a stand like he is Rosa Parks, which now I have my questions about Rosa Parks as well, because she was a part of some black activists before she went and did that on the bus. It's not like she was just some woman who decided to take a stand one day. See, all of these things, these backstories come out. We find out later on. And with this guy right here, bro, you're no hero, okay? And you're, quite frankly, I'm sick of athletes being our ambassadors. I think the Olympics is just another one of these pump me up things like the Super Bowl that makes athletes, self-important athletes, bigger than they really are. Okay, so you can figure skate and you got a talent to do that and you can jump up and do flips. That's great. Okay, that is spectacular. But have you ever served in the military? Have you ever done anything outside of your training? Because then the majority of these athletes, they train, and they're used as a commodity. By these Olympics are big money wherever they go. It's basically a money laundering scheme. The Olympics, where they go in and they pour all this money. You know, organized crime they get contracts to do all these things. Governments do all these. All it is a way to push monies around, just like war. Just like most of the wars these days. Most of these wars are fought not to resolve an issue, just to move monies around. That's all. And it's the same thing with the Olympics. Quite frankly, I don't even watch the Olympics anymore. It's all full of globalists and leftists and people who just want to talk about how, you know, how these ambassadors of their countries come here. Bull crap. Look at the people coming from North Korea. I guarantee every single one of them want to defect. They can't because their families would be killed. This guy's no ambassador. So I'm just tired of that, and I wanted to voice that. There's really not that much of a story here. I could care less if the guy's the first openly gay or if he had his testicles snipped off and he's the first openly what's that called? What are the people called for like Game of Thrones where they have their testicles snipped off? They used to do that where they would sing real high back in the day. What's that called? Somebody tell me what that's called. Eunuch. Thank you. I'm sure Jim Gandolfini would think this is horrible. Not Jim Gandolfini. I'm sorry about that. Gagliano. James Gagliano, the FBI super guy, would hate the fact that I didn't know the word eunuch because he's always criticized me about this stuff. Anyway, I wouldn't care if this guy, although it would be a more interesting story if he was the first open eunuch that was skating in the Winter Olympics. But even that, listen, go do your thing, man. Go skate. Stop with the activism. You're not a hero. It's all been done already. Yeah, Gagliano, he'll tweet about it. He couldn't remember the word eunuch. It's not a word I use every day, eunuch. Plus, I'm on the edge of a cough constantly. It's hard to think when you're like this. Anyway, listen, I'm not I am not a homophobic. I just don't care. I have nothing against eunuchs. Although I would be interested in why they're a eunuch. I don't know if that exists much anymore today. But anyway. Unsullied. They're unsullied skaters for those of you that watch the Game of Thrones. So am I making light of this? No, absolutely not. I'll tell you why I'm not making light of it. I think it's serious because we put too much emphasis on athletes as being super people. And I don't see anything super that I should have, that they should be out there as ambassadors for our country doing anything. And quite frankly, as far as like these football players not wanting to go to the White House or something like that, I could care less about that as well. I don't think I'm going to say this before I go. I don't think that it's the president's job to be a king or a queen or a representative to other countries or to these athletes where it's like it's an honor to be in the White House. The president should be the CEO of the country. He doesn't represent. Just like congressmen and women, senators, they don't represent a hierarchy of the human species. They don't represent any type of upper echelon of ruling class, or basically they're failures because the government is constantly in decline. They should be there to manage our country and to make sure that our safety is ensured and certain things are taken care of. And that's basically it. Just leave us alone. I don't understand this. Like, I have no desire to go to the White House because it's not a, it's, look, if when Jesus comes to this earth, I will lay prostrate on the ground until I'll crawl 1,000 miles to get to him. I'll crawl 1,000,000 miles, but I don't feel the need to go to the White House or to House of Representatives or to the Senate or to the Supreme Court. Look, you don't even do your job properly, most of you. So there's no pomp and circumstance. You've created that to make yourself important. Republican and Democratic parties. We should get away from that stuff. And along with these activists, people should say when they came out as the first openly gay athlete in a winter to win a spot in the Winter Olympics team, everybody should be like this. Who cares? You should, when somebody does a story like that, like when there was the first, the Army had, I don't know if they still have him, but had the first openly gay Secretary of the Army. Every comment below that on Twitter should have been, well, like, who cares? Who cares? Can this person do the job? Why do we even need a Secretary of the Army? I thought we had generals. Just go down the line. Anyway, that's enough. I'm going to cut it right there. And I love you. I thank you. 10 o'clock, I'll be on Breitbart tonight from this apartment right here, from my little studio. Breitbart News on Sirius XM Patriot Channel 125. And anybody got anything? Yeah, you're right, Stephen. They announce these things so they'll end up in the press. Hashtag who cares? Eleanor, I think you nailed it. Okay, so we got hashtag not me. That's the heroic, I'm not going to be a victim. Hashtag not me. And hashtag who cares? Got to remember that, folks. We got to remember that. Sounds like the fire department's across the street. All right, let's go to the Truth Zone. All right. I don't know, Truth Zone. It was one of those nights where I don't really have a lot to say except for the fact that we need to keep standing together and spread this truth, folks. When you listen to a show like this isn't a regular news show. You're not going to get what I talked about on the news today. I just did a whole – CNN used to have me come on whenever a white guy shot a black guy, a white cop shot a black kid in the inner city. It didn't matter what if the kid had a knife or if it was driving a car or they had a gun. It was constant, they shouldn't have shot 16 times. Well, the guy was still moving, so he kept shooting. Then they would say stuff like, and then he reloaded to shoot again, but his partner stopped him. So you're telling me that these investigative reporters, when you empty your magazine on a threat that's still moving, you're not supposed to reload your gun in case the guy gets back up? You see, again, I don't know how many times I can say this. Share this show, retweet it, tell people about it, tell them about this book, tell them about we learned, tell them about the relationships that you've gained from being on this show. I know lots of people who now know each other because of this show. And I remember a lot of the people that are here have been here since the beginning. I wasn't sure why God was having me do this show because I sure as heck ain't making any money off of it. It was showing up here to share the truth. That was my motivation because I couldn't do it on TV. I could do it on the radio, but even that is disappearing slowly but surely. I haven't been offered a radio gig. One of the reasons probably because I tell the truth. People are afraid of that. Sponsors are afraid of that. People flee from the truth. Well, we're not going to flee from it. In fact, you all are going to go out and tell everybody you can about it. We're going to get this book back up to number 1. We're going to get this book back up to where it's everybody not just is hearing about it, to where they want it. This GoFundMe page should be growing like wildfire right now, along with the numbers of people watching this show. But Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube are going to do what they can to keep that from happening. Don't let that happen. Listen, it's okay. It's okay. They want to fight, then we'll bring the fight to them. Go on every social media platform and tell everybody that Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube covertly kill the numbers on shows like mine. There's no doubt that they do. I'm not going to pay them. They gave me a free platform. I'm going to use it. I don't have the money to pay Facebook $250,000 a month, which some of these people do, in order to get these reaches and to get these likes. I'm not fake. I want the people who want the truth to come here and watch this show. And the way we're going to get around it is if we just keep telling people about it. And eventually, maybe we'll get a show. Who knows? Regardless, my buddy Rico is over there. I'm Jonathan Gillum. This is The Experts. We are the CQRF. And remember, as always, wherever you see this face, wherever you hear this voice, that was my dramatic eyeglass thing. Wherever the CQRF stands together, you will know that the truth, say it with me, the truth has arrived. I'll see you tomorrow. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.